other international markets for its share of global money. Catch the FII view only on ET Now.
Brought to you by Sri Ram City, India's largest small enterprise finance company.
It's like love in your soul. Feel it in your understand. It's like love for the first time. It will all make sense. You know it.
Hello and welcome to Hot Commodities. I'm Manisha Gupta and the top headlines on the show are: the gold prices mark gains ahead of the two-day FOMC meet that kicks off later tonight. Markets eye Fed's decision on the timeline and quantum of scaling back its quantitative easing program. The crude prices slip. The Brent falls below $110 a barrel as worries eased over a potential U.S. attack on Syria and after output resumed at a large western Libyan oil field. The Indian rupee reverses some of its gains, slipping from a 4-week high to hit an intraday low of 63.63 to a dollar before ending the day at 63.37. And in agro, the sugar trades at its lowest level in 6 weeks, waked by expectations of a higher supply from the new crop. India's sugar output is expected to be 25 million tons in the season starting October. Let's start with the gold prices, which have rebounded today ahead of the crucial two-day FOMC meeting that kicks off later tonight. In the international markets, gold is trading above $1,320 per barrel. On MCX as well, we have seen the gold prices snap its 5-day losing streak and come back above 30,000 rupees on your screens, 1.5% of a gain coming into the market. The crude prices also have continued to extend its decline on the back of easing tensions between the US and Syria and also a resumption of crude output from Libya. On your screens, we'll get the Brent and the NYMEX crude prices, which have continued to decline for a fourth straight day today. 107 has been reached in case of NYMEX, and the Brent crude prices also have seen a decline coming in. Jonathan Bharat, Chief Economist at Bharat Bullion, joins us on the show now. Jonathan, hi, welcome. As we head into the major event of the U.S. Fed monetary policy meeting, what's your sense on whether the U.S. will start tapering and by how much?
I'm certainly questioning whether or not we will in fact get it, and if we do get, it'll only be a small amount. So I guess in a nutshell, you look at it and you've got to think whether the economy is actually improving. Well, it's not, and I think that's the key. How will it affect on the commodities? I think this is quite an interesting point, because if we feel that we get no tapering, or if we get a little bit of tapering, it'll suggest that the stimulus will be here for some time. As a result of that, I think people are starting to put the stimulus trades back on.
Jonathan, also, what do you make of the Syria's development and its spillover on the crude oil prices as we have seen in the recent sessions?
I think oil will probably come under pressure. We've already seen a little bit of it this morning. I actually feel that it'll trade significantly lower. And I think one of the other reasons it should trade lower is on the back of that find in the Gulf from Texaco just over the weekend, which could see the region produce close to 2 million barrels of oil. 2 million barrels of oil per day by 2020. So when you look at it, the crisis in Syria plus some of these new founds actually should find a little bit of pressure on the price of oil. So in my mind, we should see it close to that US $100 in the next couple of months.
Jonathan, final take on the base metals then. And the Chinese economic data has been positive, but the European Union in the recent days has seen a weaker numbers. How do you look at the impact of that on this sector?
Well, I think when I look at the base metals and you look at the economics, and you're 100% right, you know, China and Asia continue to look good. Europe's a little bit weaker. But when you look at, I guess, the flagship of the base metal complex, copper, it really hasn't done a lot. Every time we try to test to the top side on some very good economic data out of Asia, it tends to fizzle out a lot.
Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us with your opinion on all of those commodities and, of course, the Fed tapering as well. But let's also get in then Vijay Bhamwani, who's author and CEO BSPLindia.com. Also joining us is Priyank Upadhyay, who's AVP Commodities at SSJ Finance and Securities. Priyanka, I welcome. Let's start with you first. And what's your sense really coming in for the energy space now? Because we've seen continuous declines coming in. Are you looking at further fall?
Yeah, definitely, Manisha. Given the ease in tension between the US and Syria, we have seen a fall in crude oil prices. And my sense is that this fall could continue towards 103 to 102 odd levels in the near future. And plus the Fed meeting, the eyes will be on that also. Overall, the picture on the crude oil remains bearish. And on domestic markets also, due to, if you see, there's a dollar strengthening today. So there could be a rally in the MCX domestic prices, which could be again find resistance on higher levels. If we talk about the levels on domestic markets, 67.80 to 68.50, 68.80, those will be the zones where stiff resistance will come in. 7,000 would act as a strong resistance in the near future, and we could see a slide lower towards 6,600 to 6,550 in near term.
Vijay, what's your sense now coming in for the energy sector? Because we've seen declines across.
I would agree with you, Manisha. There is a appearance of being top heavy. In terms of levels, I think 68.80 will be a stiff resistance for crude to overcome if at all it does go there. And on the downside, I think the first level I would watch out for is 6,660, below which 6,620 is also likely. The levels might just appear a little liberal, but then the volatility has spiked up in the last couple of trading weeks, so I think prices can thrash around a little.
But Vijay, it's natural gas, which is nearly 1% up.
Absolutely, Manisha. It's bucking the trend where relative comparison with crude oil is concerned. And yesterday I did talk about 234 to 235 being a resistance. It's clearly trading above that. Should it continue to trend higher, I think 244 is a level that would be the next resistance. And at this point in time, as we speak, 232 becomes a de facto support.
Let's talk about the precious metal space, and that's the only one that is really trading on the positive side. Priyank, how have you seen the gold and silver prices? Because the rupee depreciation, of course, helped the Indian markets regain that 30,000 rupees. But do you see it holding firm?
See, all depends upon the Fed outcome in 2 days' time. Overall, my sense is in the international markets, if the tapering is to the lesser extent, we could see a pullback rally in international markets towards around 1350 odd levels. But overall, 1380 would act as a strong resistance in the markets. And 1350, 1360, from there, we could again see a fall lower towards 1300 and eventually a fall lower towards 1270, 1280 zones. Going to the domestic markets, pullback rally towards 30,500 to 30,600 would act as a strong resistance in the markets going forward. And from there, we could again see a fall lower towards 29,000 to 28,800.
Vijay, what's your sense now coming in for silver? Because a bit of a rebound because of international gains and the rupee depreciation as well.
Absolutely right, Manisha. Rupee depreciation is what I'm looking at. I remember talking about 62.5 to 62.80 being a floor support for the US dollar, and it's not really falling below that. Technically speaking, there has to be a technical rebound in the US dollar, and the rupee has to weaken somewhat, which would mean that bullion space might appear a little firm in the interim. And I don't want to buy into this rally because I don't really think this rally would sustain over a period of time. At the same time, I think delivery-based players might just want to get into silver at 46,500 odd levels, provided at that point in time, if you get that price, the price volume and open interest correlation justify that move. So I would stick to my delivery game plan, but on dips, because I think this rally might just be a little short-lived.
Let's talk about the base metal space then, and that has been really choppy for a third quarter in this year itself. Priyank, how are you looking at perhaps a copper and a zinc prices, and what your strategy would be for the evening today?
Mainly sell on rallies would be the strategy from our side. Any pullbacks towards 462 could act as a strong resistance. From there we could see again levels of 450 to 445 in coming days. Stop loss should be above 468. Going to the zinc, zinc also appears a sell on rallies candidate to me. Any rallies towards 117, 118 should act as a strong resistance with a stop loss above 119.5 or 120. We could look for targets of around 114.
Vijay, which one are you picking up in the base metal space, and has the rupee depreciation worked its way into this sector?
I think yes, because the overall chartical formation does indicate a lower tops and lower bottoms formation. What you are seeing is a pullback corrective rally because of the weakening rupee in the absolute near term. I would focus on nickel at this point in time, and I think even though the nickel outlook remains bearish at this point in time, there is a technical pullback which could go up all the way to 888 to 890. That's where short sellers might just step in and get a little positions into place. So shorting the rallies on nickel would be my game plan at those levels.
All right, so sell calls coming in for most of those base metal prices, even in the market today. Priyank, with that, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us with your strategies. But a news coming in, or rather update coming in on NSEL. The NSEL Investors Forum today hit out at the Consumer Affairs Ministry, blaming them for the mess. They also alleged a Forward Market Commission is shying away from its responsibilities. But the forum is hopeful that the Finance Minister will now take action within next week. Meanwhile, the Arvind Mayaram panel on NSEL meets tomorrow to discuss the ED and the RBI reports on the NSEL payment default fiasco. Sources say that apart from examining the wrongdoings, the panel could also decide on the jurisdiction and future course of action on the issue. Well, with that, let's go for a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the currency markets, where the Indian rupee reverses some its gains, slipping from 4-week highs to hit an intraday low of 63.64 to the dollar before ending the day at 63.37.
How about making money on both sides of a volatile market through futures and options? Calls, puts, straddles, triangles are best understood from top analysts who come up with their best strategies. BSE presents the F&O Show. Your money earns supernormal profits each day just by switching on to the F&O Show weekdays only on ET Now.
Presented to you by BSE Investors Protection Fund.
India's and Asia's largest gear manufacturer, Elecon, gearing the future.
Win a car. Win a bike. You could win lots of prizes. Every day for 100 days. Watch Hollywood's biggest blockbusters every night at 9. 100 days, 100 blockbusters, 100 prizes. Only on Movies Now, 100 Mania, every night at 9.
India's largest producer of battery-operated industrial trucks with superior products, well-established market reputation and a reliable service backup.
Visit us at McNeilForklift.com.
Welcome back, and the currency has reversed its gains, slipping from a 4-week highs in the market yesterday to an intraday low of around 63.63 today, ending the day, of course, at 63.37 on your screens. All the eyes are now on the FOMC meet, which begins today as markets expect the US Fed to taper its bond buying program.
If he really gives a target and definite date of tapering, that will create some kind of a knee-jerk reaction. My sense is that if you see the basic problem of rupee weakness is that India's current account deficit is structural. The medium-term trend for rupee will be towards depreciation rather than appreciation. But in the very short term, because the exports are picking up, because the remittance is coming in, the current account deficit can get breached very significantly, which can take rupee to somewhere close to 59.60 in the near term.
Let's also get in then Arvind Narayanan, who's head of sales, treasury and markets, DBS Bank, and he joins us with his expert take as well. Arvind, hi, welcome to the show. It's, of course, the Fed meeting starting today in the evening, and that's an event to watch out for, not just for currency, but other asset classes and for the whole market as well. What are you expecting and what impact are you reading out?
Well, I guess the news on the tapering side is expectation will be between 10 to 12 billion of slowdown, so of tapering to happen there. So that's the expectation from the street. The other big news has been that Mr. Lawrence Summers has withdrawn